Hey everyone, so as I've mentioned before in other videos, I'm going through this book called Emotional Intelligence. There's actually a sequel out already, and it's really interesting and it teaches you quite a lot. So today I want to talk about what I learned in the book. Um, and what I learned was that a lack of emotion can provide dramatically bad results just as well as severe emotion can. So I thought for a long time, I guess somewhat supported by all the films out there, that uh, if you have emotion, it's generally a bad thing, and you want to like step away from that and just think from a logical standpoint, um, which seemed like common sense, but that's not actually true. And the example would be of this working would be all those films out there um, where you have something like a non-emotional robot or a non-emotional alien, and they scoff at how humans sort of just like they screw themselves up by overreacting in anger or fear and then killing themselves or something like that. I don't know. But in real life, you do see like people who react with anger really severely, or they just don't think and they act emotionally. They make stupid decisions. But then after reading part of this book, I haven't finished it. When I do, I'll do an entire book review on my book review channel. Go check that out and subscribe. Um, what I learned from that was that that's not actually true. Emotions are very important. They're a very integral part of survival and reproduction. Although in our modern society, we have a lot of environments that seem to push us to react worse off using emotion. Oftentimes, a lack of emotion can be just as bad. And a case study illustrating this. There's this man. His name's Elliot. He had a tumor behind his forehead, the size of a small orange that was removed, and that accidentally they accidentally damaged his frontal lobe, which now disconnected his emotional center, his amygdala, from the rest of his logical thinking center, and that caused him to not use emotion at all, which screwed him over. He was a corporate lawyer. He could not prioritize. His boss got angry, despite reprimanding him constantly. He was fired. His wife left him. He couldn't. He was a financial mess, and he couldn't really attribute emotional importance to any events anymore, and could not prioritize because of that. And as an example, once he talked to his therapist, and his therapist was like, he remarked on how, first off, this man could not attribute any emotional reaction or significance to all his memories in his past, and even the worst things that happened in his life he just gave very neutral responses to and had no emotional, I guess you could say, perspective on them whatsoever. And then the therapist found out that he did all these mathematical and logical tests, and they came out with flying colors. He was fine with every area of his performance except for his emotional prioritization and emotional attribution to different tasks. So for instance, when he went back to schedule another appointment with this therapist, they found out that he could not even do this simple task properly because he could not use emotion to choose a date and time. Because logically, he could come up with reasoning for every single time that's good and bad. So he was like, again, that's as far as the book went on to say about it. They didn't give details on it. So it didn't make complete sense. I feel like the book could have done a better job explaining that. But I imagine it was something like this. It was like, we can meet this week, or next week, or next month, or next year. Each of those times are logically a possibility because Well, if you meet next week, I'm free then. If you meet next year, I'm free then. And if I met next year, sure, it would be much later, but I would still learn as much as now. Um, it, um, it, and the thing that didn't really make sense for me would be, well, wouldn't it be more important to meet sooner? And that's not really a pure logical thing, isn't it? I mean, it is a pure logical thing. It's like you want to meet sooner, so therefore he should have been able to figure that out logically, um, because it's like you want to meet sooner because then you can get it done faster, and you want to get it done faster because it's something that you want to fix as soon as possible so you can get on with your life, and figure out and get back on track financially. But maybe there is some sort of minor emotional things that I'm missing that go into the picture that cause him to fail to throw in that emotional importance, which allows him to prioritize and choose a earlier date. And again, I'm inferring that one of the problems was deciding an earlier date or an appointment whatsoever. Potentially, or what actually might be happening, again, the book was kind of vague, was that another thing was just that it could have just been the fact that he couldn't choose a date, not that he couldn't decide or come to a conclusion that a earlier date was better, but that he could not choose a date whatsoever because he was like, all these dates are good. There's no rush for anything, or maybe no rush, but it's like there's no downside to any date, something like that. Or maybe he couldn't just again, there's thousands of mechanisms going on in our brain we don't notice, like the fact that, okay, well, maybe you can't decide on a date, but another important factor is the fact that you need to get on with life, and because of that you have to just choose a date, even if you can't come up with a significant pro versus a con to all these dates. You can't just be stuck here for the rest of your life figuring out which date to pick, because you will waste your life doing that. So I think there's a bunch of mechanisms behind it, and again, unfortunately the book was very vague and short on the whole case study. But again, it's very interesting. As always, like, favorite, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching.